Hello and welcome to my video lecture on why a three-tier application. So we've talked about two-tier, and two tiers is fine. Again, you know, if in your head you're considering that our organization is within this building, right? But even at that, your client and your server work very, very closely together. So a change in one can significantly impact the other. So let's talk about three-tier applications, and you know, some of the things that you can use in a three-tier application or an n-tier even. So for instance, there are stored procedures. We covered stored procedures at the end of chapter 7. You understand that those are bits of code embedded in the database management system. They're pre-compiled, so they run very, very quickly. The only problem with them, in that they do improve performance, they're proprietary. So if you write a whole bunch of stored procedures for Oracle, and then you decide that you're going to move to SQL Server, you're going to have to rewrite a lot of all, if not all, of your stored procedures. There is actually code out there that'll do some conversions for you depending on what you're converting. But even after that, you have to go back and double check all that stuff. You've got transactions, right? Which again, we learned about at the end of chapter 7, which control all of these database updates, right? So we can set up transactions to ensure our data quality and integrity. Remember, they either all must succeed or none should occur. And then we got our database connections. An open connection or maintaining an open connection is resource intensive. So you need to what we call connection pooling. I'm not going to get into that. That's beyond the scope of this course. But let's talk about the benefits of, say, stored procedures. Since they are compiled, they're going to run faster. They're pre-compiled, so the database management system already has the machine code. They're going to reduce network traffic, because if you're throwing everything to the back end and the back end is doing all the work, then you only get success messages back. Improved security, in that a lot of the processing can't happen unless the person has the privileges to run those stored procedures. Stored procedures are also so what happens is you can call a stored procedure from outside the database, for instance, through web pages. For instance, you're not going to want somebody accessing your database management system directly from a web page. That would be preposterous. So what you would want them to do is you want them to call a stored procedure from a web page. So for instance, that web page, any given web page has a data entry form. What you would do is you would take all those values and then you would send it back through the application server by calling a stored procedure and passing in all those variables as input parameters to a stored procedure. And then the stored procedure would run, validate all of the data, validate the source of where the data is coming from, and then that stored procedure would write to the database management system. So it's an extra layer of security. Again, the data integrity through transactions, and the fact that your data isn't getting to the database until it goes through a stored procedure that's already pre-compiled, so that the data, you can't be putting bad data in because the stored procedure wouldn't let you. And this is, of course, is going to allow us to have much, much thinner clients. Now we're talking about just having our web browsers, right? No local storage. So, benefits of a three-tier architecture: you've got scalability, right? This thing can grow. It doesn't matter what the back end. So if you're in a three-tier architecture, you can go from something small, God forbid, like your back-end server is Microsoft Access, and now you're growing. Not only can you switch your servers in the back end, your physical machines, but you can upgrade to more enterprise level types of database management systems without affecting so much your front end, right? Because now we're in different tiers. Technological flexibility goes into the fact that you can change your front end or your back end, or even your middle tier, without much effect on the other tiers. There's a long-term cost reduction. Of course, that lends to the idea that there is going to be a short-term cost increase. But hopefully you will recoup that over the long term. There should be a better match of systems to the business needs. So that gets down to how much money are we going to spend on a server? And I say this all the time, that remember, the server you're buying today should only satisfy your business needs for the next 4 to 5 years. Don't buy this ginormous server that has all the bells and whistles if that's not what you need. You have to deal with your business needs. If you think you're going to grow 5% over the next 5 years, you need a server that's going to support you growing at 5% for the next 5 years. You don't need a server that's going to, satisfy your organization growing by 50%. It's unnecessary, and it's a waste of money. Should have improved customer service because you're going to have less downtime. You're going to have better data. If you have better data, you can better serve your customers. And we've spoken about that in previous chapters. Of course, this is a competitive advantage. This goes back to the long-term cost reduction. If you have a system set up that allows you to be fleet of foot in an ever-changing environment, like a 3-tier architecture does, you are going to be better capable of handling change. And if you can handle change, you can deal, then your risks are reduced. And that is the end of my video lecture on considerations of 3-tier applications.